Bailey's relationship issues really grind my gears, especially when I look at how she treats her partners. Rewatching Grey's for the third time, I'm on season 8 now, and I can't help but notice how she keeps making the same mistakes in her relationships. When she went through her divorce with Tucker, I felt for her at first. She's a doctor after all. The whole "I'm saving lives, I'm busy" thing seemed kind of valid. But now, seeing her with Ben, it's like she hasn't learned a single thing. Ben's trying to make an effort, planning time together, and what does she do? Act like she's the only surgeon in the world who knows how to hold a scalpel. Sure, emergencies happen, but come on, she could have been a bit more proactive. Why not ask Weber or someone else to cover a shift? She could have made more of an effort to be present for her partner, who clearly values their time together. Other couples on the show figure it out. Callie and Arizona take help from Mark. Derek and Meredith rely on Lexi. They actively try to balance work and relationship. But Bailey? You rarely see her making an effort, planning anything, or even trying to show up when her partner's trying to make time for her. Then there are the two major moments that made my blood boil when it comes to her marriage to Tucker. The first, when Tucker Jr. got hurt in her office after she carelessly left the gate open. Tucker tries to talk to her, and what does she do? Hang up on him multiple times, telling him to stop bothering her. Then, after she finds out her kid's in the ER, does she apologize for blowing him off? Of course not. Instead, she cuts him off when he tries to answer questions, like he's somehow not important enough to have a voice in his own child's emergency. And she's too busy pointing fingers at him, never owning up to her own role in the mess. The second moment, when she invites Tucker to the hospital for a serious conversation, but then gets all caught up in some random EMT emergency. And she doesn't just treat the guy like a priority, she completely disregards Tucker. She makes him wait while she insists she's saving a life, even though she didn't need to be there at all. Not only does she dismiss Tucker, she also completely disregards Yang when she racially targets her, instead of just grabbing another intern to help. And does she ever apologize? Nope. When Tucker gets in a car accident, Bailey's reaction is basically, "Well, this is an inconvenience to me." She never seems concerned about how scared or hurt he is. She's too busy lecturing him like he's one of her students, tearing him down at every chance. Even when he tries to talk to her, she completely shuts him down. She never even apologizes for ignoring his calls, and instead prioritizes a random patient over him, despite other doctors being more than willing to take care of that patient. And don't even get me started on the counseling situation. She refuses to change her work schedule to attend marriage counseling. She openly flirts with her high school crush while still married to Tucker. And when she considers taking that PAIDS fellowship, she doesn't care how it'll ruin everything they've worked for. No regard for how much money they'd lose or how it'll affect Tucker. It's honestly the same disregard Richard had for Adele, and it's just infuriating to watch. Bailey treats Tucker like an afterthought, and it seems like she'll never get it. The real downfall of Grey's Anatomy. Here I am, rewatching the series for the second time, first time since I stopped after season 17, and I'm hit with the same feeling. The show clearly chose quantity over quality, just to become the longest-running primetime medical drama in TV history. No question, the early seasons were a high point, but as time went on, especially after the loss of key characters like O'Malley, Izzy, Lexi, Sloane, Yang, and Derek, I started to feel like the show just wasn't what it used to be. It still had its moments, sure, but you could tell the magic was fading. Then came season 12, when Callie left, and by season 14, with Edwards, Robbins, and Kepner gone, it was pretty much game over for the captivating storylines. And let's not forget the real blow, the departure of Karev. After that, it was clear, Grey's Anatomy was no longer Grey's Anatomy. Once Karev was out, it felt like characters like Richard, Bailey, and even Meredith were just spinning their wheels. Their storylines seemed more like afterthoughts, like they were just filling time until the inevitable end. Honestly, it felt like they just slapped the same name on a totally different show. I've heard Meredith eventually leaves the hospital, Joe and Link get together, but I just can't see how it all ties back to the show's original heart. Oh, and don't even get me started on Sandra Oh's cryptic comments about a potential Yang return. Sure, that'd be great, but how in the world would that work? I mean, Yang coming back. Without Meredith? Alone? Good luck with that. The only way I could see it remotely making sense is if Karev came back, with or without Izzy, though that's so unlikely. That might allow for some storyline closure with Joe and Link, and maybe, just maybe, Yang could join the mix. But who knows? At this point, though, I'm not sure there's any way the show can recover its essence. Will it keep hemorrhaging viewers until it just fizzles out? Probably. Honestly, I hit a wall the minute they changed the background music. I can't explain it, but everything just feels cold, sterile, like a clinical atmosphere that drained all the warmth. It's like the soul of the show just vanished. The vibe I used to get from a Grey's playlist doesn't even exist anymore. After Christina left, the show just lost that chaotic, fun energy. I miss it. Okay, let's break this down. April hiding her pregnancy? Yeah, I'm Team April on this one. She lost her first baby, and people act like she kept this pregnancy a secret forever. But in reality, Jackson found out at 12 weeks, which, guess what, is still the first trimester. I'm pretty sure most people don't announce their pregnancy until after that point because, miscarriage risk and all that fun stuff. But sure, let's act like she was deliberately keeping it from everyone for no reason. Now, as for her wanting a divorce, whether or not she was pregnant, please, Jackson made it clear that he was done with their marriage. She was hanging on, sure, but it was clear he wasn't. And we all know that Jackson wouldn't have left her if he knew about the baby. So, can you really blame her for not wanting to be stuck in a loveless marriage just because of a baby? Jackson? Yeah, he's got every right to be upset about being kept in the dark. But I get why she made that call. She knew Jackson would stay because of the kid, not because he wanted to be with her. He deserved to know earlier than Arizona and Alex. But hey, she wasn't exactly thinking clearly, especially with all the emotional trauma. That said, the whole thing spiraled out of control when she got the restraining order against him because she overheard his mom talking about something Jackson wasn't even involved in. Talk about blowing things out of proportion. I get she was scared, but if she just talked to him, none of that would have happened. Instead, we get this ridiculous fiasco that could have been avoided with a little communication. And let's not forget Samuel. The longer April waited, the fewer options she would have had if the baby had been sick. Yeah, it's easy to sympathize with her trauma. Losing a baby is unimaginable, but there's also the reality. If the baby had been born sick, that's the one who would have suffered the most, not just April. She can't let her fear dictate that child's fate. At the end of the day, I'm happy they figured things out between them, especially remembering they used to be best friends. But man, the drama that came with this pregnancy. It could have been a lot smoother if she just, communicated. Owen is a walking contradiction. First, he gets all riled up at Christina for not wanting kids, saying if she did, she wouldn't be able to give her full attention to surgery, something she's passionate about. Fair enough, right? But then he goes and breaks up with Emma because she's willing to give up surgery for a few years to have kids, claiming she's not passionate enough about surgery. So, what exactly does he want? It's like he's looking for a perfect blend of career-driven and kid-having, but Christina isn't ticking those boxes, and neither is Emma. Honestly, I get it. He wants someone with the same life goals. That's completely reasonable. The problem comes in when he starts shaming people for not having those same goals, especially when they're upfront about it. Just be careful, though, talking about Owen. Last time I did, I got a lovely page-long rant from an Owen fan telling me I obviously don't get him. In the episodes where we find out that Harper Avery sexually harassed or assaulted at least 13 women. Let's be honest, probably more. Meredith is understandably furious. She's disgusted by the idea of being connected to a foundation that shields sexual predators, so she takes back her award. But then, here's the thing that doesn't quite sit right. Why return Ellis' award? I get why Meredith would do it. She's pissed and doesn't want to be associated with the entire mess. But Ellis? Come on, Ellis knew exactly why Mary Cerrone got blacklisted. She knew the real reason Cerrone was fired, but of course, kept it quiet. She took Cerrone's name off the paper, probably because she didn't want anyone digging too deep and messing with her own shot at a Harper Avery. It's clear Ellis wasn't about to give that award back, even if she knew it was tainted. But Meredith? I think she gave back both awards because, for one, she couldn't stand having them in her house. It wasn't just a symbolic move, it was personal. After everything with her mom, especially finding out about Ellis' willingness to do whatever it took to get ahead, I think Meredith was just done with the whole legacy. She knew exactly how far her mom was willing to go to keep her seat at the table, and that hurt more than any betrayal. So yes, it was a statement. She didn't want any part of the Avery legacy that had been built on lies and manipulation. As for Ellis' award, I think it was more about the emotional weight of it. Meredith was probably too shaken by what she'd learned about her mom's actions to let that award sit there, reminding her of the woman who had always been willing to play dirty. For her, it wasn't about making a statement with Ellis' award, it was about not having that constant reminder of her mom's choices in her face. She had enough to deal with without the award screaming at her, "This is who your mom really was." Meredith's decision to return both her own and Ellis Harper Avery awards is a powerful moment, but there's a lot to unpack. Let's be honest, when she finds out Harper Avery sexually harassed and assaulted at least 13 women, and probably more, let's not kid ourselves. It's hard to stay loyal to a foundation that covers up such behavior. So Meredith is understandably furious and doesn't want to be associated with that legacy anymore. The return of her own award makes perfect sense, but then there's Ellis. Now I get the confusion. Ellis Avery knew exactly why Mary Cerrone was blacklisted from ever winning a Harper Avery, and it's pretty clear she wasn't ignorant of the reasons behind that. In fact, Ellis went as far as taking Cerrone's name off the nomination list in order to ensure she could win the award herself. She wanted that recognition so badly that she'd sacrifice anyone, including Cerrone, to get it. So, would Ellis have returned the award if she knew what Meredith found out? Probably not. Ellis would have proudly kept it on her shelf, no matter the cost. But Meredith, she wasn't making a statement just about the foundation. Returning her own award made a lot of sense, but Ellis was about something deeper. To Meredith, the award wasn't just a piece of recognition, it was a constant reminder of everything Ellis did to get ahead. She didn't need that reminder anymore, especially not after learning what Ellis was really capable of. It wasn't about making a statement to the world, as much as it was about cutting ties with the past she was now disgusted by. The difference is that, while Ellis would have kept her award with no regrets, Meredith didn't want any of it in her home. Returning her mother's award was more personal. It wasn't just the look of the thing, it was the pain of being reminded of how far her mother would go to win, no matter the cost. And when you realize your mother was the type of person who'd blackball someone to win an award, yeah, that's not something you want hanging on your wall. Meredith wasn't just returning the awards, she was returning a piece of her mother's legacy. And who could blame her for not wanting that constant reminder of everything she's now seeing her mother as? Oh, Joe and Link, please, get them off my screen. There are a few couples I can't stand on this show, like Shane and Christina. Seriously, why? Anyone with Owen. And don't even get me started on George and Maggie, or Jackson and Maggie. But Joe and Link? I can't. I didn't even like Joe and Alex together. And that's mostly because I didn't care for them individually. But Joe and Link? They're the most forced, cringeworthy couple on the show. The writers are acting like they're on the same level as Calzona, Slexy, or Japril, but let's be real, they're not. Why couldn't they just stay friends? They have such a sibling vibe, it's insane. This show is basically live long enough to see your favorite characters become villains. Eventually, we all end up hating someone we once loved. For me, it was that whole ridiculous, I love you in the rain moment. While a patient is literally bleeding out and there aren't enough doctors around to supervise. No consequences, nothing. It's just, eye roll. Honestly, I never wanted this couple to happen. Like, ever. But now, I guess I'm resigned to it. I just wish they'd leave me alone. We were all so convinced they were just friends. And now, suddenly, we're stuck with this relationship. What if Alex was still around? Would they have made Joe cheat on him with her best friend? Oh, I can't even. At this point, I do hope Joe and Link find happiness together, though. They deserve it, I guess. But seriously, I was all for Amelia and Link. They were amazing together, and it was infuriating how they broke them up and made Amelia look so bad. They deserved each other. Joe and Link might have had better past relationships, but they were so good as friends. That's why it's so hard to watch them as a couple now. Oh well, best of luck to them, I guess. Derek's comment about Meredith being the bad mom? Just, wow. Sure, her messing with the Alzheimer's trial was reckless. I get that. It was a huge deal, and it could have hurt a lot of people, including the patients in the trial. But Derek saying he didn't know if she'd make a good mom? That was a whole other level of low. He knew exactly how much that would sting, especially given Meredith's past, her difficult childhood, the trauma from losing her first pregnancy, all the fears she had about motherhood. And he still said it. That was a deliberate gut punch. It wasn't just a careless slip of the tongue. He chose to say it, knowing exactly how it would affect her. It's hard to believe that he didn't realize just how cruel that was, and honestly, I find it hard to forgive. The thing is, Derek always prided himself on not being cruel to Meredith when he was angry. And sure, we've all said things in the heat of the moment, but Meredith never spoke to him like that, not even when she found out he was married. If I were Meredith, that would have been a hard line to cross, and I don't think I could have come back from it. That said, I see where Derek's coming from in a way. Meredith is reckless, like, constantly putting herself in danger without thinking twice. It's a valid concern that someone who behaves like that might make some questionable choices when it comes to their kids. But still, I don't think that justifies saying something as brutal as that. Also, her response to the idea of losing Zola? Kidnapping? What the hell? That's a wild reaction, and yet we all just sort of accepted it. Weird, right?